my name's Wandering Dutch, and welcome to my review of Bulwark Falconeer Chronicles. Thank you to Wired Productions for the game key in order to bring this review for you today. Bulwark Falconeer Chronicles is by solo dev Thomas Sala. First of all, you ask, what is Bulwark Falconeer Chronicles? So it's set immediately following the explosive events at the end of the Falconeer. Bulwark tasks you with rebuilding civilization in a harsh and unforgiving world from the ashes of those who walked the path before. Bulwark Falconeer Chronicles is a relaxing city builder featuring limitless building, freedom of creativity, while encouraging players to become the creator of their very own Bulwark, a fortress against the endless Ursee and its fierce inhabitants. Now, after playing Bulwark for what is now around 27 hours, I've been having a whale of a time. To be honest, I'm not the best of city builders. I'm going to be brutally honest here. If you find me playing a sim city or a traditional city builder, you'll tend to find the vast majority of my population are dying from some godforeseen illness very early on, and I'm unable to rectify the issue and end the game. However, I'm happy to announce that this is far more forgiving, far more relaxing, and for me, far more addicting to play. Constantly expanding the city, constantly building and upgrading towers, exploring the world for more resources. It's a great lot of fun, but let's get into the game in itself. First of all, it starts off with a pretty detailed yet also simplistic tutorial mode. A tutorial is very well put together, initially voiced by Thomas Sala, who gives you a good introduction, and then Advisor Atlan, who also guides you through the tutorial period. Now, the tutorial period takes you through some of the very basics of the game. It tells you how to upgrade the towers, it tells you how to expand, it tells you how to gather resources, and then, once you've got to a certain level, the open world is yours to explore. Advisor Atlan, among many of the other crew and cast that you come to find in the world, will give you advice, will give you warnings, as you explore. Now, when Thomas described this game as the world's your canvas, it pretty much is. You can essentially select from 3 factions to start off with. Those 3 factions, again, when you're in the game, you can recruit all of these factions, and you've got to try and balance them so that they don't conflict against each other. When you're setting up trade routes, you also have to ensure that they're protected and go and fight off invading forces that are trying to take out your trade vessels. And of course, then you've got to build relations with those other settlements, recruit them, or go full force and conflict with them. Now, throughout the world, there's a lot of surprises, a lot of nuances to go about. When you upgrade certain factions, you start getting either dragons, or you get falconeers on board to help you, or ships, or combat vessels in the sea, or airships that fly alongside yourself to help bolster your defences, and of course growing your towers and your city to be as expansive as you physically can be. Now, the official terminology that Thomas uses as Bulwark Falconeer Chronicles is about kit-bashing fortresses and settlements in an open world, the haunting landscapes of the Great Ursee. There is no scrollable view of a single map. There is a living, breathing 3D open world which you can build on any rock, cliff or mountain you can find. And that is true. Though a little bit, I wouldn't say difficult to get a hang of at first, but you've got to understand, of course, you've got to expand your settlements out to different areas. Once you've expanded to those different areas and set up trade routes and workers, then you can start building on other areas. Around your initial fortress, however, that's the easiest settlement to start building up and to obviously increase it in size substantially. And as we go through the course of this video review, you'll see both the tutorial mode and some of the basics, all the way through to seeing some of the more detailed crafting that you can do and some of the bigger cities that you can kind of get towards. Now, not only are you building, but of course you've got your severe ship, which again starts to increase in size and increase in capabilities as you go. When you get more combatants on board, then it becomes more armed, so of course then it can start fighting off things a little bit easier. It is just a fantastic game. Now, I also want to touch on the art style. The art style is unique to Thomas. We saw this in the Falconeer. The art style hasn't changed since then. If anything, it's got a little bit prettier. The world is very dynamic. You've got a dynamic lighting system, dynamic weather. You've got hidden areas throughout the world that when you explore. A relatively large map to explore as well, filled with an awesome cast of characters that you will come across. And also the music. The music is brilliant. As it was in the first, it sets the tone very well for the game and the exploration and the unforeseen, which I like to see. But overall, I've got to say it has been a pleasure to play for the last 27 hours. It's a game I am absolutely looking forward to continue playing after this. You will think, see, I'm singing a lot of praises about this city builder, and that's coming from a person that isn't, as I mentioned before, very well versed in city builders. I'm not the best at them. A lot of people might be put off by the thought of city builders, as it were, but I was looking forward to giving this a chance to see what it was all about. And like I say, it has got a bit of an addictive quality to it. You feel the need to go and explore and find more resources and get new settlements and try and balance the communities that you start to build up with the three factions in your very large settlement. And of course, creating their towers and getting commanders on board. Overall, had a really good time playing this game. Now, there's also a lot of random events that can appear throughout the world. So you'll see a lot of question marks pop up every now and again on the map. And you hear, ahoy! And it'll either be a ship out in the distance of some communities that need resettled, or there'll be wonders that need taken down and you can rebuild them near your location, or you can find extractors out in the world, different commanders to take on board, or even just conflicts. You go and explore and there's just a hazy black cloud out in the sea, and you click on the question mark and you're under attack all of a sudden and you need to fight them off. The random events are really cool. They're always a little bit different. It makes you need to explore as well in order to expand. Now, I'm only, like I say only 27 hours into playing the game, but I'm definitely going to continue playing it because I want to see how big I can get the settlement, how balanced I can get it. At the moment, it seems to be that the Imperium on my section seems to just be growing and growing and growing and growing, and I need to try and balance it out a little bit more before conflicts start to appear. But it's really good. Now you've got 4 set resources in the game. You've got workers, of course. You've got wood, you've got stone, and you've got iron. And of course, as I mentioned before, you've got extractors that you need to collect out in the world in order to start farming for those. Where you set up harbours and then link those harbours back to your main settlement so that a trade route can be set up so that you're constantly bringing resources in order to expand your city. Now, you can select to see the resource flow as well, because of course the more you expand, the more resources you're going to need, and the expansion of your city means that the resources may not flow to certain areas if it gets too big. But it is just fantastic. Now, the building of towers and how grandiose everything can look, it is really, really interesting. I don't quite think I've seen a city builder done to this extent before. Very intrigued to know how we've managed to do it. But of course, some secrets will remain that way. But I'm sure I'll end up picking Thomas's brain at some point to find out how that's been done. But it's definitely very fascinating how it has come together. You've got harbours, towers, unbuildable locations, which you'll have a little dot on, foundations, and of course when you build foundations on tower, then it allows you to grow the tower higher, and then of course you'll be able to upgrade it as well. Now, as I mentioned before as well, with the harbours and finding different crew out in the world and finding different captains, etc., you'll find those sailing around or flying around or at different locations, and of course to set up trade routes you need more captains, and you set those captains at the harbours in order to collate these throughout the world. Now, as you can see, the worlds that you can build are very expansive. You start, like I say, getting dragons and ships and towers and fortifications throughout, and it looks absolutely fantastic when it's around. It's got a really in-depth photo mode as well that allows you to pan around and really zoom into things and change the day-night cycle and get the right angle in order to get some cracking photos in game. It also has an accessibility mode which allows you to change the UI as well as the colour of your faction, among other things. However, it's a little bit limited, and I would like to see a little bit more accessibility options built into the game there, which is one of the only downsides. Another thing as well for the photo mode, which I'll cap off, an option to toggle the UI for the photo mode on or off would be nice. Sometimes the photo mode button layout can disappear from screen and you can't get it back on again. It would be nice to have the option to just toggle it on or off, like you can in some photo modes. But overall, it is a decent enough photo mode, especially for the beginning. And bear in mind, this is still a solo developer that has put all of this together. I think it's really good work. You can change, as I mentioned there in the accessibility options, languages, surveying cameras, hidden blue cursors, availability, actions pop up, vibration settings, UI scaling, which will kind of demonstrate a couple of little bits here where you can kind of scale the size of UI on screen, which is good for those who need larger text. Faction colours, volumes, HDR output, luminance, gamma, etc. But things maybe like colour blindness settings that you might have been able to implement, or maybe a couple of other things like single-handed controls. I know personally a couple of people that are single-handed gamers, so it might be something to look at in the future. But again, good, especially the UI scaling. That's a very good feature to have in there for those with sighting issues. And the last thing I want to touch on is the free build mode as well. So I would probably recommend this after you have completed the tutorial. So complete the tutorial of the game, and dive into free build for a bit and get used to essentially building everything that you can do and learning how to upgrade and where you can and can't build, etc., and how to build locations for harbours and things like that. I tend to find it is very good to do that. Of course, free build, there isn't any resources to worry about, which means you can really let loose and just create and craft whatever you want to do. Full-sized, full-fledged towers of ginormous sizes, etc. But it really helps you get the hang of creating these large cities before you dive into the campaign as any of the three factions. But now it's time to get to the end of this review, so let's cap it off here. Bulwark Falconeer Chronicles, available on PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One and Xbox Series S and X. Available today for $14.99 in the UK, $19.99 in the US and $19.99 in Europe by solo developer Thomas Sala. Once again, thank you to Wired Productions for the key to bring you this review today. Now, the all-important section coming up here is my review score and my final thoughts. So with that said, let's get into it. Now, I'm basing my score on a positive and negative review scale, and of course mine is a scored review, so I would like to kind of get into that a little bit more, and I will give both the positives and the negatives and who I think this would be best suited for. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not great at city builders usually, but this one really did do something for me. So the review score for me is a 9 out of 10. Now I'm going to get into the positives and negatives as well. First of all, the positives. It had a great tutorial, intuitive controls, expansive open world, addictive gameplay loop, and a great soundtrack and cast of characters. Some of the negatives, there was a little bit of a low threat level when it come to the combat. I felt that it was relatively easy. I might kind of go into it a little bit more and just be very hostile towards the other factions and see how that turns out, but overall the threat level felt a little bit low, and I maybe like to see an option to kind of increase that threat level. The photo mode is a little bit limited, but we've already touched on some of those subjects, and last but not least, limited accessibility features, and again a few other things that I would like to see added to it as well. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, share and subscribe. Goodbye. Thank you.